Massive upsets, constant fighting, tiebreakers, a freaking Heimerdinger in the bot lane. We've seen everything so far, World's 2018 group stage, and today it's time for the teams in Group C to fight for a spot in the quarterfinals. Doublelift and Team Liquid will aim to do the impossible and take down the #1 seed KT Rolster as they intend to remain undefeated after today's games. I'm James Dash Patterson, joined by Indiana Frosker and Black Martin Fischelunga and Joshua Jack Leisman for day 7 of the group stages. How we doing? It's been wild so far. I'm wondering, at what point do we, hit that plateau? Can we keep rising?
Hopefully we can, because I do not want today to be the one that returns to expectations.
Yeah, it's been a tournament about defying expectations, and yesterday a Freak of Freaks took the #1 seed, and G2 Esports advanced to the quarterfinals as the second after a back-and-forth battle between them and the Flash Wolves. For Korea, this was a sigh of relief as the first team from their region moves on to the knockout stage.
And it was the fact that a Freak of Freaks finally returned to the standard style that we expect them from the LCK. Their drafts were clean, the early game was so controlled, Spirit popped off, and it led Afrika to taking that first seed.
Yeah, and I think after watching the RNG Vitality Cloud9 group, you're thinking, maybe slow teams can't win at the World Championship, but I do feel like Afrika proved that wrong yesterday because they returned to a very controlled style of top lane focused League of Legends, at least within that group. I can't wait to see them start clashing again in the quarterfinals.
Can we talk about G2 now?
Go for it.
G2 Esports, they got out. Finally, they get out. 2 years in a row as a first seed. They can't get out of their groups. Obviously, the one last year was very, very difficult with Samsung and RNG in it.
They needed the 3rd seed.
They needed a 3rd seed. They needed a completely new roster. Only Perks remains. So much credit to him. But also, I think all of the guys around him actually really played well in that final game against Flash Wolves.
Yeah, do you think that being in the play-in helped them?
Yes.
Much like it would have helped C9, because I think of the previous years that G2 has been at the World Championship, they have that trip-up loss, right? But this time they had those 2 close games against Fungbu Buffalo, and I almost feel like without the play-in to work out some of the kinks, they could have dropped one of those games, and that could have cost them the group.
But that's assuming that they learned anything from play-ins to group stage. And
I think they did.
Their style did change, but I don't know if it was like a conscious change.
Well, that was the thing, right? In play-ins, they did try the Wonder on Sion strategy. Mark C pointed out yesterday. It didn't work at all. They lost to Supermassive. Well, the first game they actually played, we were already panicking back in Europe. Like, we lose the first game in play-ins, it's done, it's all over. But they went back to the carry top lane style. They also found some really good picks in the bot lane. The Jin from Yana was actually very good with the Tam Kench. So I think G2 learned a lot from the playing stage. I actually think they're kind of happy they had to take that path.
I mean, it feels like every team is learning something new about themselves game by game by game. We talk about how rapidly the priorities around champions and strategies and styles have been developing throughout this tournament. But as both G2 and the Flash Wolves, or rather Afrika move on, that means we say goodbye to Fungbu Buffalo and the Flash Wolves as the Elements champions have fallen short yet again here, not making it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, again, it's spring contenders, summer pretenders for the Flash Wolves. They've only gotten out of group stages once, but I do want to quickly start on PvB. I think it was kind of a victory lap for them in a sense. I mean, maybe they wanted to go farther than this, but I thought they put up a good show in the group stage, took a couple of very close games, and played a very clean, decisive style. This wasn't relying on the cheese or the pocket picks that the Gigabyte Marines had in past. It's just showing that Vietnam are raising in their natural level of League of Legends.
And looking at the games yesterday, we were closer to PvB being 3-3 than actually being 2-4, which is what they ended at, because that game against G2 Esports, they were so far ahead. And we got to look at completely different group standings right now if they had actually closed that one out, but they obviously didn't. That's why they end up down the bottom. But all European fans absolutely love them right now because them beating Flash Wolves gave G2 that tiebreaker.
Yeah, and the fact that Flash Wolves had just the Fungbu Buffalo game to win, to move them into what would have been a tiebreaker for first, and instead they lose that, then they lose the tiebreaker for second, and they're out. That is an epic collapse for Worlds because the hopes were so high after the nearly perfect summer split into the 2-0 start to the group stage. It's got to feel rough for the Flash.
Thanks, Mr. Buffalo, and that's all I will say.
There it is, devastating way to exit the group stages. After G2's historic win, though, Shock's caught up with the EU jungler, returning to the quarterfinals.
Thank you very much, guys. I caught up with Jankos as well after that phenomenal victory versus Flash Wolves. Now, we've had a little bit of time to process it. It's been 10 minutes since the game ended. How do you look back on this crazy day and on qualifying?
I mean, I think that the mistakes that we have been doing in like the Africa's game and the first game against Flash Wolves did cost us the first seed. I think we should have been first seed in this group. But I also think, you know, as an Africa actually went 1-1, so we don't know which team is better because it seems like they did pick up a lot of the slack during the kind of 2-3 days between games. So, I mean, I'm still happy that we made it out. I think the last game was kind of convincing from us, especially that they again left Hammer open and this time we just took it. So I think it was fine, but it's kind of like bittersweet feeling because I would really like to be first.
You mentioned KT already as being the winner of the group that's playing tomorrow. Also, TL, MAD, and EDG are in that group. Of course, we want to know a spicy prediction from Jankos. KT first, I gather. Who's getting out with them, or is someone else snagging up first place?
I mean, I still believe in the Western teams. I still believe in Team Liquid. I do think they are a good team. I do think on stage they don't play like one, but they can pick up it. They can pick it up for the game. And, you know, they lost against EDG once, but I feel like EDG has some things you can abuse. So I think that there is a chance Team Liquid will make it out. But as for now, my prediction is that I think EDG will make it out because it just feels like it just feels like it should probably make it. I don't want to say names, but like some of the Team Liquid players are not like playing like super insane. But yeah.
You took a 180 there at the end. I guess a lot of people also wouldn't have said G2 would get out this group at the beginning of Worlds. So I think you still deserve a huge congratulations for doing that. Congratulations, Jankos. We'll see you in quarterfinals. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much. I love the way Shock sums that up.
Yeah.
Kind of took a 180 there right at the end. Saying that Team Liquid has the pieces to come out of the group, but that they're not necessarily performing to that level and therefore predicts EDG coming out.
Yeah.
Today, we've got the teams in Group C ready to hit the rift with the undefeated KT Rolster currently in first ahead of the LPL's Edward Gaming. Team Liquid will get a chance to close in as they face off against KT in Game 1, followed by Mad Team versus EDG. The LCK and LPL representatives clash on the Rift in Game 4, with our next quarterfinalists being decided at the end of the day after any necessary tiebreakers. As we've seen so far, though, nothing is impossible at this World's group stage. So here are our predictions for the day, and we all entirely align. It will be KT 6-0, 4-2, 2-4, and 0-6. So the mirrored group exit.
I'm not gonna lie, my eyes honed in on Jats as quickly as possible to see if you would break rank, and you didn't. Why?
He didn't.
Because of what we saw on the first round robin. And I will say that type of group spread where every team will beat a team twice or lose to another team twice since we've started this format has only ever happened once. And that was a group in 2015 that had SKT, EDG, H2K, and the Bangkok Titans. So we've only ever had 3 teams go 6-0. We've only ever had 3 teams go 0-6. So it is actually unlikely, even if all of us are predicting it because we think it's the most likely.
So what I wanted to, yes, exactly. I believe that those are the most likely predictions. So I want to discuss what are the most likely upsets. You're looking at either EDG taking a game off of KT to force a 5-1 tiebreaker. You're looking at TL to take a game off of EDG to force a 3-3 tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Or you're looking for Mad Team to take a game off of TL to force that 1-5 tiebreaker,
Yeah,
essentially.
which wouldn't be a tiebreaker.
I'll take number
sorry,
C, please.
you're right. You're taking which one?
I'll take C. I'll take Mad. I actually think Mad were quite competitive, especially in their game against Edward Gaming. And I just think it takes one person. Like, if you're focusing for this group and you're prepping, especially because it feels like the decider between Edward Gaming and TL, they're probably going hardcore on each other, and someone's going to slip up and Mad's just going to blue shell.
I am 100% sure that we have 6-0 KT and 0-6 Mad Team.
So the only possibility is
100%.
between TL and EDG.
You're ready for game 5.
100%.
And what I like about today is that all the TL fans are saying, like, man, TL just, the pressure gets to them and then they just don't show up. And so many of the EDG fans say the same thing. So I think mental fortitude is going to be so important today, whether or not, if Team Liquid loses game 1 of the day versus KT, can they recover for the Mad game and eventually the EDG game? And then looking at games 4 and 5, which is EDG playing KT, with the win most likely meaning they get out, they lose that one, retry against TL after just losing 15 minutes prior is going to be a big mental test for EDG.
Mental fortitude, very important for the players on a day like this. Also important for us as analysts, as after days of nagging, we finally decided to give Jat some time in the spotlight with some Jat stats. So, what do you got for us today?
I got a good one. So I was looking within Group C, early game stats. Deficio was like, what kind of stats are you going to ask me? I said they're going to be related to the group. So, which player in Group C has the best gold difference at 10 and also the best XP difference at 10. And the XP difference is actually more than double the next closest player in the group.
I'm saying score.
Best gold difference.
You think
It'd have
he
to be
wildly
someone on
out-jungles
KT.
other people by 400 gold at 10 minutes?
Yeah.
He gets kills early
So
game.
the gold difference is always compared against the role. So it's like would be
It would
one
be the
jungler-
other
And this
jungler,
is
right?
just between the players in Group C.
Yeah.
And we-
So
I
in
think
the 3 games of the
what are our
first round
top
robin.
laners? We got Ray, we have Impact, we have Smeb, and then Leon. I think Smeb
Could also be Smith.
vastly
But
outclasses
the
everyone
experience
else.
Colder.
difference this early on.
That's true. And
Older. Back to the jungle. Back to the jungle.
I'm on score. I'm on score personally.
is it Yukao?
Cold. Just give me a guess.
I mean, I could see a mid laner because like Pobelter played so poorly. So we're looking at
But then you have Scout, who had such a good game.
Yukao.
I
All right,
think it has to be
just
Mata
throw a
or
guess in. You're all
Score.
going to be wrong.
We're all gonna be wrong.
This
Not
one,
a
this
KT
one is
player?
unguessable.
Unguessable.
Why would you have an unguess? What is it?
Just
I said Yukao.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
Yukao score, and you said
0% confidence.
it's Ole.
What?
Plus 400 gold at 10, plus 658 XP at 10.
What is happening?
How is that?
It's because they kept getting, like, he took a first blood, the other support is dead, he stays in lane.
You're right.
There's
he
a
had
turret
that.
dive, he stays in
He had that
lane.
game where he had like
Everyone gives
4.
him
He picked
XP.
up like 3 or 4 of the early kills, and he wouldn't hand them
Ole
over.
in the first 10 minutes.
Okay, that was good.
Beast. Okay,
All
question
right.
2. This champion in group stage has been picked 6 times and won all 6.
Sivir.
Lucian.
All the group.
Sivir.
Give you
Oh,
a hint.
Sivir.
Sivir.
Only a 21%
Sivir.
ban percentage. He says Sivir.
Siva has won a lot of games.
I don't
I
if-
know she was 5 wins out of 5 plays, so as long as she was
And
played
then
one more time,
Flash Wolves picked her yesterday and beat G2. with
then
it.
she's 6-6.
You know
Or
what?
6 of 6.
I'm with Dash right
Let's
here.
go.
You convinced me, even though you might be wrong.
I think,
But you believe me.
The way you deliver this, I believe you.
I think Lucian's only been played 4 times, so I'm gonna have to go with
That's a loss.
Sivir. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an undefeated champion, and his
feeling it.
name is Lee Sin.
What?
6 picks.
I trusted you.
0
Okay,
losses,
but
21
just
picks.
out of curiosity,
Yeah.
can somebody hit me with the Sivir stats?
I did say the 21% pick ban. I actually don't know if Sivir is undefeated.
Yeah,
You
somebody
didn't
hit me with the Sivir
double-check
stats.
your
I just out of
Jack stats?
curiosity.
This one is correct. Question number 3. This Group C jungler has the highest jungle proximity percentage of all players at Worlds while still being plus 4.7 CSD at 10. So ganks more than anyone else while still having a CS advantage.
So Xmithy
There's only 4 junglers.
Xmithy is pretty active in
He
the
is
early
ganking
game.
bottom a lot.
And he's gotten some early kills as well with it. So if you look at and like early kills, and I think he's also been able to invade a little bit after he's actually managed to secure an advantage. Score, obviously, because
Or is-
Score.
Kongya is the
I was
best
about to say, I think it
player
could be Kongya.
on
He's
Mad
also been
Team.
active.
I think it
Yeah.
could be Kongya.
And
you know
then-
what? I think it could be anyone but Clearlight.
It's definitely anyone but
anything.
Okay, I'm gonna go Kongya. I like that call.
Yeah,
I'm
Mad
going
Team.
Xmithy.
I think you guys got faked out when it was unexpected with Ole because it's Score. It's the best jungler at the World Championship who ganks all the time and is still up in
So
CS.
if Jat ever decides to move away from like League of Legends casting or
Yeah.
analysis, I feel like he'd be great at designing game shows, like game show
It's
questions,
true.
like the mental game that he plays, where he he trains you into thinking
Yeah.
one way about his
Unexpected.
questions, and then right
Super
at the
obvious.
end, exactly, it just goes the other way.
We could also prep a little bit more, you know.
That's
but
also true.
We're kind of like,
Probably could try a little more hard, do a little more homework. All right, well, we're stepping away. When we return, we'll dive into some of the key pocket picks so far at Worlds and tell you what Team Liquid needs to do if they want to upset KT. So don't touch that browser.
Edward Gaming finally fell off the expectations of LPL, hit reality, and reminded everyone that, hey, you know, we just barely qualified in the World Championship.
突破小组赛就是可能就能体现出我们这一年努力的价值。
Mako though with a follow-up pulse might turn it back around for EDG. They're going in for a tap with a massive shuffle.
现在我们现在记录是0胜3败，我们一定要赢接下来的3场。
They sacrificed a lot to come together, but they did it to win. They did it for a stage like this.
롤드컵 우승이 목표이기 때문에 저희가 그냥 강력한 모습을 보여줘야 된다고 생각해요.
Xmithy gets choked down. Somebody here keeps him alive a few seconds longer. Long-range death sentence.
We haven't played at the level that I think we should be. I feel like we haven't even played half as well. First game that we play on Elimination Day is KT. Are we gonna actually play our game?
TL looked very hesitant to do anything.
It's like life or death. If we lose a game, it might be over for us right there.
Welcome back to Worlds Countdown, about 11 minutes ahead of Game 1. We've seen a lot of unexpected champions so far at Worlds, and with our first game right around the corner, we're going to take a look at some key pocket picks, starting with Singed in the top lane.
Yeah, and something that's so cool about the group stage thus far is there are 19 champions that have only been played by one player. So there are a lot of pocket picks to go through, and Singed is one that jumps out to me because the first time I saw it, I had to remind myself that Impact wasn't on that team anymore.
Right.
So I think Singed could still see some more play, even though Licorice has played it, and Impact is pulling it out here. If they get the right tank matchup, I think they can throw a wrench in the other team's plan because that champion plays very uniquely in the game with how much pressure it can apply in the late game, as long as you don't fall behind early, which does happen a fair bit.
I like the points towards the tank matchup and not falling behind because Singed in professional play is not the same as in solo queue. In solo queue, you can actually win lane release because people don't know how to trade against you. In pro play, however, it's all about team fighting for me and also like the pressure you actually bring because of your grounded effect. And that grounded effect is something that can actually counter the pocket pick I want to look at, and probably a pick we won't see too much, but I hope we will. It's Kalista in the bottom lane. Uzi got to play it. I think if you play around bottom side, you can actually use Kalista really effectively. I love the fact that she brings engage to her support already, and also safety if you actually are diving into the back line. I think that's something we already see now where a lot of teams are drafting engage to the support role. She brings more there. Plus, we see a lot of teams put a ton of focus on early Drakes. Well, what can Kalista do? She guarantees you even more security around these objectives. So I hope we get to see her more, but I can see a lot of AD carries are kind of stepping away from her.
Yeah, and speaking of all of the engage that is going down at the support role, the pick that I want to look at is the Poppy support, which PvB pulled out. Now, when you have Alistar basically ruling the meta right now, either almost like must pick, must ban, having a support that can disengage from all of this hard engage, I mean, Poppy's ultimate can be the most cost-efficient ultimate in the game, or it can be the worst ult in the game, depending on who you hit out of it. And if we can actually figure out a pick that breaks the Alistar priority, which I'm not saying it should be Poppy, but this is a very interesting niche that we might start going sideways into as Alistar continues to control this meta.
Right, and while a number of teams have found their wins off the back of these unique picks, I want to take a look at a role that's been dominated by two champions in particular, and that's the bot lane with both Kai'Sa and Xayah.
So Xayah, for me, is the #1 priority champion, and I think it's just kind of the balance of everything that she's going to bring. I know I just talked about Alistar, but Xayah kind of goes into this idea. She has so much security in her ability to follow up, but it's this idea of balancing the late game team fighting with the lane power. You get the 3-item power spike. She's so good against all of these dive compositions, nocturnes running around the meta everywhere, has the ultimate to disengage. I just think she's the easiest blind pickable champion and fits well in pretty much every single composition.
Yeah, what I think is interesting is that Kai'Sa, while being picked more, has been banned less, 22 picks, 11 bans, and Xayah is at 18 picks and 15 bans in the group stage. But if the day evolves and laning power for AD carries becomes more powerful like it did in the RNG C9 Vitality group, Kai'Sa could fall away without even bans, and then it only takes one ban to completely shift to the lesser played AD carries. And that's when you're going to start getting Varus, Sivir, Lucian, Triss, Jhin, Ezreal, Draven, like the more defined AD carries as far as either laning strength, wave clear, late game anti-dive, and that's when the AD carries are really going to be able to show some like personal expression on their picks.
Well, that's actually what I love about this group, because I feel like you need different strategies against all the different teams. It's not like we saw in Group A or B where it felt like it was the same meta for all of them, because here when you play against KT, you're going to have to attack them differently than you attack Mad Team, as an example, or maybe even EDG. With KT, you know you can't afford to fall behind early, because then they will just run over you in no time. So you need strong laners, and you can't just go full scaling, even though Kai'Sa was used so much yesterday.
It's also the fact of the diversity that we're going to get. We saw KT versus TL. The very first game of Worlds, it was the Xayah priority pick. Then we know that Mad Team Breeze, they like to use the Ezreal pick. And then you have iBoy who pulled out the Lucian. So we should get a fairly good mix, and it's going to see who's going to prioritize that
Heimer
team
every
fight
game.
or that lane.
There it is. Well, yesterday we put a spotlight on the top lane, and today it feels only appropriate that with the teams we have to focus on the bot lane. We have Deft, iBoy, Doublelift, and Breeze all looking to take their teams to the quarterfinals.
So, starting with Deft here, sorry to jump in for us.
It's all good.
I think Deft is very interesting AD carry to talk about, because he's obviously a huge name that has been around forever. He's always been considered one of the best AD carries in the world, and he is still a very strong player, but he's actually not the main carry on KT anymore. There are so many good players around him. I think Yukal during this tournament already is looking fantastic. He has Score and Mata as his supporting crew. I don't think you can ask for anything better right now. So while Deft will be able to do his job, I'm not expecting him to be the main carry. And I think in the AD carry matchup, you could actually get an advantage in this group.
What about iBoy then?
It's hard. I just heard all these things about Deft, and I'm like, could you get an advantage against Deft, especially when he's next to Mata? If anyone can do it,
that's the problem.
It should be iBoy and Mako. They used to be the strongest 2v2 outside Uzi and Ming in the LPL, and we are a region that are stacked with the bot lane 2v2s. Now, iBoy has shown up. He picked up the Lucian. He's trying to play for kills. The number one thing to know about this guy is he is fearless, and that makes him a double-edged sword because he will always go for the kill play, which can leave him exposed, and you can quickly jump on him and tear him apart.
For the NA fans, they're looking at Doublelift to help carry them to a quarterfinal.
Yeah, the North American LCS MVP. He had such a great year domestically. He had a great MSI, but in the first round robin, he wasn't able to get involved in team fights. And that's going to be the big thing for this guy, is to find a way for his team to set him up so he can succeed. I feel like a lot of the fights he had on Kai'Sa, he never had the opportunity to get involved, especially when he's on a dashing in champion, when Nocturne ults are constantly blacking out the map. So eye test-wise, Team Liquid look very bad, but we have some stats like Ole's huge gold, and even Doublelift's laning stats are generally neutral, which is good for Kai'Sa.
Right.
They just have to find a way to transition.
And stepping up against some of those big names is Breeze of Mad Team.
Now, Breeze is one of the shining lights of Mad Team. It's basically their jungler and their ADC. So again, it's that Ezreal pick. He is putting out good damage numbers. He looks confident in team fights, constantly chasing down. It's just how big is his champion pool, and are there enough other pieces on Team or Mad Team for them to actually pick up some wins in this group?
Now, changing our focus, though, to the first game of the day with 4 minutes till champions select. The LCK champions and one of the pre-tournament favorites in KT Rolster have looked absolutely unstoppable, going undefeated in their first round. Robin.
Yeah, no team has gone 6-0 so far at the World Championship. Even if it felt like RNG was going to do so, they actually went 4-2. No team has even gone 5-1. But after what we saw from the first week of KT Rolster, it feels like they can do it because they do look like they are very strong in every position.
Yeah, exactly. And also in every part of the game so far in this group, like early game, they look like one of the best teams among the four. We've already seen a fantastic late game team fighting, something they've really improved on here in the summer split compared to the KT in the past, who could really throw away big leads with some really, really dumb late game decisions. But that's not really happening anymore. And that's why, you know, earlier when I said 6-0 KT, I was 100% on it. It's just, I don't see where these teams are going to punish them.
Yeah, and it's the fact that you can't even punish them in the one place that maybe you could have before, which was their very young mid laner in Yukal. He wasn't really known for his big step-up carry performances. He comes into World, he picks up the carries, and now he looks just as threatening and right at home, stacked between all these superstars.
Yeah, they move on to the quarterfinals with just one win today. Of course, they can play for seeding if they get a few more than that. On the other side, despite their performance in the first round robin, Team Liquid's Doublelift feels he's narrowed in on the team's issues.
Our team just has like this problem where we lose our minds on stage, like making calls that we just never tried before and are just really stupid and obviously bad, and players just like randomly splitting off and doing their own thing because they're focused on like laning. And like I'm guilty of this too, where like I focus more on my individual performance than what the team is doing when I go on stage, and I don't really know how to fix that other than to just remind myself every minute of like what the team play is and what I need to do to be a part of it. The only reason why we lost against KT and EDG, actually, the only reason why is because we tried to execute a team play and like one or two people weren't on the same page, and that's it. Like if we did it as 5, we would have won easily. So yeah, on stage, like some switch flips in our heads. It's really bad.
Yeah, listening to that, you can definitely tell there are big communication issues within Team Liquid for team fighting. Their laning phase has been okay, but like we say, based on the eye test, when we're watching fights and people are jumping in totally different directions, they are in their own heads. And I thought there was an overcorrection from their KT game to their EDG game, and they have to try and find a stable middle ground, which has been an issue for this team.
Yeah, the issues, what Doublelift said here, that's actually why I think all of us didn't really put all our faith into TL in our predictions, because it's something we can't really actually predict if it's going to happen or not on stage. We can see the team is struggling on stage. We don't know how they're playing in scrims, but on stage, the team is clearly not on the same page, and it's hard to fix that in a couple of days
Right.
because it seems to be something bigger than just lack of synergy.
All right, you said the eye test. We saw it in those Dragon fights, those Rift Herald fights, where the team rather seems to be out of sorts. Now, it's not a do-or-die game for them here against KT. They can't afford to drop it, still make it out, but a win here would be massive for the TL squad. The teams are ready for today's game, so let's leave it to Riv, Spawn, and Azael for Team Liquid versus KT.